So recently, all of social media has been blowing
The
up with the
truth, let's
debate
get
of
it.
one gorilla versus
So the
100
move on my
humans.
boom
The funny thing
boom
is
boom
that
some
everyone
so
seems
y'all can hear
completely
me.
divided onto who would win the
Okay,
fight.
okay.
One side thinks that the gorilla would pull a Winston and just completely thrash the army of humans with ease.
My honest opinion, us humans can't do anything without sword, knife, any weapons. We need utility, come on. But we can surround him and, and we can all like lay him down and suffocate him basically. That's probably the one of the ways we're gonna kill the nigga. Besides that, if it's not a, and then who's gonna go first? If it's not 100 of me's, I don't see no nigga like stepping like, you know what I'm saying? I don't see no nigga stepping like I am for sure. But on a serious note, actually, like if it's 100 average man, who's actually gonna go first? I know I'm gonna go first. I know myself, but who's gonna go first? Like, come on.
While the other side believes that the sheer numbers would let the humans just beat up the gorilla like it's Naruto. But
Mm.
who is actually correct?
And gorillas are just low key chill. They low key chill. If you come in their little space, they'll get they'll start like getting aggressive. So just stay away. You're low key fine. Just leave
Correct.
these
Is a
niggas
gorilla
alone.
versus 100 people actually a fair fight, or is it actually a stomp? Does the gorilla win, or do the humans? Let's find out. If you like this kind of stuff, make sure to like, subscribe, and let's jump right in. Now, to begin, I think it's important to establish both sides of this fight. For the gorilla, we are assuming that this is essentially the strongest gorilla possible. Of the four gorilla species,
Shit.
easily the largest and strongest would be a silverback eastern lowland
Yeah.
gorilla. At
Fuck.
the absolute largest, gorillas can stand at over 6 feet tall and weigh between 400 and 500 pounds, with the largest ever being about 600 pounds or even beyond. However, this fails to capture how a gorilla's overall proportions drastically exceed that of a normal human, with a wingspan of over 8 feet, drastically more muscle mass, and far
Damn.
less body fat. In comparison to the peak gorilla, the group of humans will be made up of 100 average people. There will
This is what
be
I'm
no
talking about.
boxers, nor MMA fighters, or athletes, and
If it's just
instead it will
average,
just be 100 totally normal people with totally normal physical stats, with there being an equal number
yeah,
of
we'll
men and
lose.
women. Now, technically, average height and weight varies somewhat drastically across the planet, so for this video, we'll be taking the stats from just Americans when possible. This means the 50 men in the group will be on average 5'9" and almost 200 pounds, while the 50 women in the group will be
Damn.
on average 5'4" and 170 pounds. Now, to be fair, Americans are kind of fat, so ultimately using the statistics of a healthier nation doesn't change these values very much, or the outcome in my opinion. Still, either way, the gorilla is going to be far larger than any single human, exceeding them in height by a couple inches and being casually twice the weight of the average man. Also, just so we're all on the same page, this is what 100 people looks like. It's definitely not a small group, but it's also not a massive crowd
That's
by any
true.
means. A lot of college lectures have more people than this in them. With that being understood, who wins this?
The gorilla.
Determining the
I'm
true
sorry.
strength of a gorilla is incredibly difficult for multiple reasons. Firstly, gorillas ultimately are not a predatory species, so in comparison to
Exactly.
something like a bear, a wolf, or any of the big cats, they rarely, if ever, go out of their way to attack humans. Secondly, unlike for humans that will willingly do experiments to test the limits of human strength, doing the exact same thing is almost impossible for gorillas because they're not just going to do a bench press for a couple of bananas, unfortunately. This forces most, if any, estimations of gorilla strength to be just that, estimations based off of their bodies and the very rare instances of strength that we have seen from them. Thirdly, there is a lot of hearsay and misinformation regarding gorillas, with most online sources claiming completely different stats for what gorillas are actually capable of. Finally, a lot of info about gorillas that does exist is oftentimes really old. The biggest issue though is that inconsistent information. For example, one website says they can lift 1,800 pounds, while another claims they can lift more than twice that at
Yeah, I heard that
4,000
one.
pounds. Things get even more wild when these resources put it in terms of humans. Some claim that a gorilla is 8 times stronger than an average man. Another claims that they are 4 to 10 times stronger than a human. Another source claims 12 times, with another claiming that gorillas are a whopping 20 times stronger than a human. Clearly, the only consistent thing agreed on here is that gorillas are stronger than humans, but this
True.
much variation in number
Off
between
this
sources
clip.
is enough.
Nigga wanted to kill us. No, no, like not in a bad way, but if nigga wanted really to just take the nigga and kill him, he could. But he's like he's just showing him Don't mess with me, bitch ass nigga.
to say that these numbers are completely made
He
up
was scared for
or
his
very
life.
unsubstantiated. So
Yeah.
let's look to what actual researchers have said about gorillas, or what we have actually seen them do in real life. Consistently, gorillas have been seen uprooting thin banana trees, shattering protective glass, and have broken human arms in brief attacks. Smaller and
Shit.
weaker primates like chimpanzees have shown feats of strength 2 to 3 times stronger than that of normal human, around 800 to 1200 pounds. Given that chimps are less than a quarter of the weight of a gorilla, suddenly the 4,000 pound claims look slightly more valid
Yeah.
and would approximately make them 8 to 10 times stronger than a human being lifting wise, though strength and weight don't exactly work like that in a 1-to-1 ratio. Clearly. Looking back to older information, the statements get harder to verify, but could also be potentially more legitimate, as these were real interactions in the wild. We have accounts from 19th century explorer Paul Chalu recounting gorillas snapping and bending metal guns with their bare hands, or even an older account from explorer Andrew Patel that recounts that 10 people were unable to pin a gorilla down. Finally, we have more speculative calculations around things like gorilla bite force and punching strength, which is incredibly difficult to calculate without, having the gorilla punch something that actually measures the force. Still, even the most lowball calculations put the gorilla's strength at around 881 joules of force, with the highest being 3,660 joules of force. In comparison, humans output only about 74 joules with their punches, which would make the potential difference in punch power anywhere from around 10 to 50 times. I don't think really speed is something we really need to talk about here. It isn't like other power scaling topics where either side is a blitz difference faster than the other or anything like that. Gorillas and humans are simply comparable in overall speed, with the gorilla being a bit faster in bursts of muscular power, though such speeds aren't exactly sustainable. So overall, gorillas are stronger,
He's
larger,
modern,
heavier, and
shit.
more powerful than multiple humans combined. Either way though, are the humans cooked? Let's get into it.
Yeah, we're
Now,
kind of
in a 1v1, 2v1, or even 10v1, I think the gorilla could pretty easily take it. From everything we've seen, from historical accounts to estimations, a gorilla may legitimately be around 10 times the strength of average humans, making all of these random articles potentially correct.
It wasn't average humans though. Like, this shit would be actually possible.
Even if they were just yapping. Single strikes and bites from a gorilla is going to be breaking bones of whoever is unlucky enough to be in range. As they tend to do, they can also easily grab, lift, and pull around any human they manage to grab. Furthermore, most attacks from a human are simply not going to legitimately harm a gorilla, the difference in the basic lifting and punching power being so immense that the person punching the gorilla would probably hurt their hands more than the gorilla's body. But as the number of humans increases towards 100, things get worse and worse for the gorilla for multiple reasons. Firstly, fatigue. Gorillas are not used to, nor are they really built for long, drawn-out fights. Most conflicts between gorillas only last a couple minutes at most, which is actually true for most humans as well. But while the gorilla might tear through 20, 30, 40 people, boom, there are still 60 humans the gorilla has to beat in order to win.
Well,
Secondly, in this
I'm gonna be the first one, so those 99 niggas are good. Just stay your ass back. Let me do the negotiating, and we should be chilling, and we get to go home early and shit. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying?
fight, strategy and coordination genuinely matter. For this fight to even happen, we kind of need to ignore the concept of fear for both sides. If a gorilla saw a group of 100 humans, they are very likely not going to attack and just run away. On the other side, if most people saw a gorilla beating up a dude, they're not going to jump in and help out. They are also running away. With that being,
I even forgot. Yeah, literally, if the first nigga got his ass beat, niggas are like, I don't want that happen to me. Like, let's be for real now.
said, if both sides legitimately want to beat the other with full conviction and no other options, 100 people can pretty quickly coordinate to absolutely bum rush on the gorilla, who simply would not be able to attack every person at once, even 20 people at once. Which brings up the third thing, weight. For as strong as a gorilla is, especially a potentially tired gorilla is simply not strong enough to hold off the weight of a coordinated group of humans. At the mid-end estimation of 1,800 pounds, even just 20 200-pound humans would be able to pin down a gorilla, with the only claim to the contrary being from a guy born in the 1500s. Would people get hurt and probably be killed in this effort to pin him down? But again, there are 50 dudes all prepared to do this, let alone the 50 women. But pinning isn't enough. The gorilla would need to be defeated, and even without tools, humans should be able to actually hurt gorillas. While human punches are far weaker than the apes, human kicks are overall far stronger.
Yeah,
It can
my
range
kicks
from
are
over
strong as shit.
3,000 to over 4,000 joules, which is actually stronger than gorilla punches from a pure
My
energy
punches are
output
strong as shit
standpoint,
too,
as
but my
crazy
kicks
as
are
that
stronger.
sounds. So while yes, one guy randomly kicking a gorilla would probably do nothing, several dozen people all kicking at a gorilla's head while he's already pinned down would eventually take him out. So yes, 100 humans could beat a gorilla.
Yeah,
If
I know,
gorillas
but-
were truly a threat to literally 100 humans at a time,
should
there would
be
be
fine.
far more stories of
It's
gorillas
average.
actually, killing humans, while we have stories like this for elephants or bears. So bottom line is this.
Oh,
Humans most likely win, but you don't want to be at the front of the crowd when you're staring down a silverback. If you made it this
I'm that nigga. You know what? Don't forget to like and subscribe. Peace.